Hey guys, so in this video we're going to be going over every Nin category, as well as what makes them distinct, but we'll not be covering the general aspects of Nin, as well as the general techniques. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Enhancers are a good starting point for us because of their simplicity. Enhancers, true to their name, enhance things. This entails enhancing your body to protect it from damage, or enhancing your muscles for speed and strength. You can also enhance the raw destructive power of your aura itself. Naturally, this allows enhancers to become very powerful, without complex abilities. Why complicate defeating your opponent when an enhanced fist could destroy a tank? Enhancers are not, however, limited to increasing offense, defense, and speed. Any inherent property in the body, or whatever object is being used, can be enhanced, including the body's, for instance, ability to heal. Typically, aura separated from the body dissipates quickly, but those in the emitter category are unique in that they can maintain their aura over long distances and over long periods of time. You do not want to waste your aura on simple ki blasts, however, unless you are sure you are going to hit your opponent, because emitters have been nerfed to the ground by Togashi by not allowing them to control their aura after it is separated from their body without training in the manipulation category. This is why emission and manipulation are typically paired together by emitters, because it makes emitted aura much more dangerous, and it also allows you to have a more complicated technique after it is separated from your body. By combining emitter and manipulation techniques, emitters can make their aura take on complex, lifelike shapes, or even act independently from themselves. For example, a common emitter ability is seen in the formation of a Nen beast that can be controlled from a distance via direct control or programmed behavior. Garenu and Knuckle both create Nen beings in Hunter x Hunter, Garenu's being direct control and Knuckles being automated. Emitters also hold the distinction of being the most likely to develop teleportation abilities, but unlike Nightcrawler, you're not going to be teleporting when you want, wherever you want. But in order to teleport, the destination must be marked by the person via aura, so they've had to have been there already, or they've had to transport their aura to that place in order to teleport to that place, much like the way Garenu does when switching places with his Nen Beast apes. Transmuters can make their aura take on the attributes of things, changing their Nen's function. Aura with the attributes of fire will act just like fire. However, it will be invisible to normal people, as it is not actually turned into fire. Transmuters are also tragically not immune to the negative effects of their transmuted aura. An aura with fire-like qualities will burn the user if they do not take the necessary precautions. Some avoid damaging themselves via a layer of normal aura between them and the transmuted aura, but this is dangerous as it makes fighting a war of attrition for the user. If they run out of sufficient aura to protect themselves, they'll likely be unable to attack. Other transmuters have found success, though, by making their aura into something they already have immunity to, is not inherently dangerous itself, or by creating a protective armor with conjurer abilities, typically aided by conditions, because it's hard to create a conjurer ability that will be able to protect yourself from your inherent aura type, which would be transmutation in this case. Transmuters can also combine attributes to create unique aura types, as they are only limited by imagination and their own aura output ceiling. For instance, Hisoka combines elasticity and adhesiveness in his ability Bungee Gum, which does not directly match any real substance. Manipulators can, much like their name implies, manipulate stuff. They are not limited to objects, but can also manipulate living things by siphoning their aura into their target. Usually, in order to control living things, conditions must be met, such as making contact with the target directly, or by connecting yourself to them via an antenna-like object with manipulator aura in it. Not any object can be used in this purpose, only one that the user has some kind of attachment to. It's usually emotional, but much like the limitation on a conjurer having to be incredibly familiar with the thing they wish to conjure. Abilities that give the user full control of a living target will naturally have more conditions, or more dangerous ones, than an ability that simply allows a change in the target's behavior. An example of a change in the target's behavior being when Illumi stuck Kilovo with a needle and made him afraid of fighting strong opponents. Manipulators are also not limited to objects and living things. They can also control their own aura and make it take on shapes and other things like that, much like we talked about in the emitter category. Manipulators are incredibly powerful in one-on-one fights because they can eliminate their opponent by simply sticking them with their Hatsu needle or by touching them, depending on the Manipulator Hatsu. But since most Nen users know about all the categories, they will immediately try to dodge anytime you come near them. So unless the Manipulator can actually stick their opponent, they're probably not going to win, as their Hatsu doesn't have any offensive capabilities itself. Unlike, say, an Enhancer, who can just punch you. This is mitigated a little bit by Shalnark. When he sticks himself with his antenna, he can make an auto mode go on, so he will automatically fight at more than his normal capacity. It will force his body to move. So it kind of has offensive properties without sticking his opponent, but it also makes him, hurt himself. Not that great. Manipulators. If you've ever wished to summon a sword from thin air, then here you go, but I've got some disappointing news. Conjurers can only create objects that fall within the bounds of human limitation. This essentially means that omnipotent objects, like a sword that could cut through anything, cannot exist. Despite this, Conjurers can add properties to the objects they create that make them special, such as Owl's summoned cloth being able to shrink it and anything contained within it, or Kurapika's chain jail forcing Zetsu on any captured opponent. Nen objects created by Conjurers can be seen by non-Nen users and Nen users alike, but unlike a real object, these creations can be hidden with an advanced Zetsu called In, which conceals the presence of Nen unless Gyo is used to see it. In order to summon something, the Conjurer must be familiar with the object to a fault, but once this is accomplished, it can be made at any time. Unlike Manipulator and Emitter combination Hatsus, a Conjurer does not need training in a mission to keep objects separate from themselves from disappearing. An object will remain until the conditions it was created with run out, such as a time limit, or until they are dissipated by the users. Conjurers tend to have more complex abilities due to the variable nature of the properties and rules that they can apply to their objects. This, however, usually makes it so Conjurers are very circumstantial, so they must be careful when choosing their abilities. Whether they come from a special bloodline, had great desires that cultivated a strange power, or developed it later in life due to special circumstances, they are all unique. A Hatsu that falls into the specialization category essentially comes down to anything that cannot fit into another category, or as a combination of them. Every ability must be treated uniquely because they are all unique. Things that don't fall easily into another category include abilities like Pakunoda's memory reading and memory transfer Hatsu. Typically, these powers can also allow the use of other Nen categories within them, with a higher efficiency than normally should be possible. Crollo and Kurapika can both make use of multiple categories with incredible effectiveness, with the right conditions and tools, of course. In all honesty, this category just gives Togashi the freedom to create what he wants. But usually, all the powers have checks and balances, so there aren't any omnipotent powers, even in the most special of all the Nen categories.